It can be demoralizing to watch a new movie based on your favorite fighting game series, and not just because most of the movies are terrible. You can enjoy aspects of a thing you overall dislike and vice versa, despite what the internet would have you believe. Very often, even in the good ones, you'll get at least one character you really like pulling the short straw and having a bad time, be it through poor characterization or getting their head kicked in. Sometimes the character is given no characterization or outright wrong characterization. Some cases are a result of being made in the early days, when the character didn't have a lot of defined personality, such as Jax being an ebonic-spewing borderline comic relief character, or Jax being the sassy black man with all the best quips, or Jax getting mad at Johnny Cage and shattering his spine like I somehow did to mine recently and I don't know how. Fortunately, unlike Johnny, FlexiSpot's got my crippled back with their new E9 standing desk with brushless motors that they kindly provided for this video. The E9 is a customizable standing desk with several colour options for the desktop and 2 for the frame, along with multiple desktop sizes. It boasts a load capacity of up to 180 kilograms and a height range between 63 and 128 centimeters, offering a lot of versatility for your workplace needs. Adjustment is very easy with the touchpad on the underside, which allows 4 user set heights it can adjust to with the press of a button. And the adjustment itself is both smooth and fast. Now I can have more varied posture while working on videos and not feel like the victim of an errant X-ray move. You even get a 20-year warranty! You could have bought one of these back when Mortal Kombat got its first movie, and if it broke down by the time MKX released, you'd be good. Hell, that's longer than those new generation fighting game time skips usually are. The E9 is coming soon, with £220 off if you pre-order before the 28th. And FlexiSpot's Black Friday sale is on right now with up to 90% off on various products, so now's the time to go check them out. The links are in the description. Thanks again to FlexiSpot for supporting the channel. I feel like I've really made it as... wait. That last example was from the games, not the movies. Anyway, there are so many characters in fighting games with rich personalities and backstories that could serve as material for a solid movie on their own, but are not significant to the central storyline of their series and will thus either be left out of adaptations entirely, or be included merely as a bit part or an obstacle for the heroes to overcome. I'd like to provide a few examples of how little focus so many great fighting game characters have been given over the years, even when they're more interesting than the central characters a lot of the time. There have been 4 Tekken movies, and King and Paul are only in one of them as mere background extras, while Yoshimitsu and Law are in one as background extras and then another as generic enemies for Jin to fight. If you're lucky, you get Nina and Anna Williams depicted as assassins, albeit usually working for the Mishimas and both fucking Heihachi's current heir, sometimes at the same time. And that's not even getting into the very in-name only characters who do get a lot of screen time like Christie. Dead or Alive only has one movie which split the cast into 3 tiers: main characters, secondary characters, and first round losers. Jan Lee, Lei Fang, and male Hitomi and Asian Elliot are all eliminated in the first round and are never seen again. So that's my main and my waifu both relegated to the losers bracket, which is somewhat ironic given how they'd rank in the following 2 games tournaments. And even those that go through aren't guaranteed any sort of characterization. Sure, Bass and Zack get enough, but that's because they fit neatly into archetypes that can interact with Tina. Zack is the annoying wannabe ladies man that can't take a hint, and Bass is the overprotective father. Genfu, the one DOA character who achieved his goal and retired instead of being stuck in an unending loop of trying and failing for 20 years, has 0 characterization, beats Lei Fang easily, and then has his loss to Kasumi cut from the bloody film! I'm not as familiar with Street Fighter adaptations, but they are less consistent with their favourites, with SF94 making Guile the lead, and Legend of Chun-Li making... well, obviously, right? Ryu, the series protagonist, hasn't had it good in live action, being an inaccurate supporting character in 94, and being totally absent from Chun-Li, although that was probably for the best, with only the fan-helmed Assassin's Fist doing him any kind of justice. Zangief has a tendency to be portrayed as a villain, a moron, or both. I'm also told he tends to job hard in the animated movies. His status as a patriot and role model for his entire nation tends to be overlooked, simplifying him into a big dumb Russian guy that main characters look tough for beating. And let's not forget that time Charlie was also Blanca. I'm even less familiar with Darkstalkers, but even I'm aware of how Morrigan and Dimitri have historically been turned completely evil and murderous in adaptations barring the OVA, even though Dimitri is supposed to be the protagonist. What is this, MK Legacy? I've only started looking into King of Fighters and Fatal Fury relatively recently, but Terry Bogard seems like the coolest, most fun fighting game protagonist, and yet the live-action KOF movie made him into some boring agent dude with none of his personality or relationships. And Kyoku Tsunagi is white, which is all kinds of stupid. Moving over to Mortal Kombat, as I am wont to do, I want you to consider the following characters who consistently show up and get full fight scenes: Reptile, Baraka, and Mileena. I want you to cast aside everything you know about these characters from the source material. Using only what you know from the movie adaptations, tell me who these people are. Reptile appears in 3 movies: 1995, Scorpion's Revenge, and 2021. In all 3, he is the lizard with invisibility that works for Shang Tsung and tries to assassinate the heroes but is killed. Him being the last of his race has never come up, nor has he ever been given any personality, nor even a single line of dialogue. The only times we've had any of that is in the Malibu comics and the Conquest TV show, the latter of which takes place in a universe where other Saurians still exist, and so that part of his story is swapped out for a degree of ambition rarely seen in the adapted forms of MK villains. As far as the movies are concerned, Reptile is just the stealthy assassin character with acid spit that makes for a unique fight scene. Baraka appears in MK Annihilation, Scorpion's Revenge, and Battle of the Realms. In MKA, he is the arm-bladed monster man who guards Kitana's cell and is beaten by Liu Kang in about a minute. In SR, he is the arm-bladed monster man from whom Johnny Cage runs away and has a building collapse on top of him. In BOTR, he's the arm-bladed monster man who loses to Stryker in the tournament and is later killed by Johnny to save Sonya during the literal apocalypse. His status as the most vicious of all the Tarkatans and a leader of Shao Kahn's armies is consistently ignored, as are the times he has shown ambition or a desire to improve the lives of his race. He also has never spoken a word of dialogue in a film. Mileena is the ninja girl with the dual sai who fights Sonya in the desert in Annihilation and fights Sonya in the desert in 2021. She has sharp teeth and can teleport in 2021, and Sonya thinks she's Kitana for some reason in Annihilation. That's it. Her quintessential characteristics as a near-identical clone of Kitana have never been included in any adaptation outside of the Malibu comics, Conquest, and Legacy. 2021-2 is even using an actress of a different race for Kitana, and Conquest made her just some random woman who gets changed to resemble Kitana. But what sets those 3 adaptations apart from the movies? Length. In a longer format like a comic or TV series, there is more time to characterize and flesh out the cast than a 2-hour movie that needs to be efficient with its screen time and exposition. As such, characterization for anyone outside of the central heroes and maybe 2 or 3 of the villains is typically deemed non-essential. And this happens in the good ones too. To stick with MK 1995 focuses on giving Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, and Sonya Blade full characterization and storylines, and gives Raiden, Shang Tsung, and Kano some personality and leaves it at that. Scorpion and Sub-Zero are infamously devoid of any character or personality, acting merely as obstacles for Johnny and Liu Kang to overcome. And Goro has some basic characterization, but only as much as is needed to give him dialogue. Kitana is also there, and I genuinely forgot she was in the film as I was writing this. Annihilation keeps characterization limited to Liu Kang, Raiden, Sonya, Jax, and Shao Kahn. Jade has a bit too. We get some conflict between Kahn's generals, and that's basically it. Scorpion, the Cyborgs, Mileena, and Baraka have none. Nightwolf, Sindel, Shinnok, and Sub-Zero have Goro-level characterization. 2021 characterizes Cole, Sonya, Kano, Jax, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero, just enough to consider them characters. Shang Tsung, Cabal, and Raiden have enough to serve as exposition machines. Mileena, Reiko, Reptile, Goro, and Natara have none. Scorpion's Revenge characterizes Scorpion, Quan Chi, and the classic trio. Raiden, Shang Tsung, Jax, and Kano get just enough to get by. Sub-Zero, Goro, Kitana, and the aforementioned Reptile and Baraka get little to none. Natara is a cameo. Battle of the Realms carries over Scorpion and the trio while fleshing out Raiden, Jax, and Kitana a bit, characterizing Kuai Liang, Smoke, Shao Kahn, and Shinnok, while leaving Kung Lao, Stryker, the Cyborgs, Li Mei, Reiko, Baraka, Jade, Kintaro, and Devora with basically nothing. And of course, I get it. Movies have limited time to tell their stories, so you need to be efficient and practical with what you focus on. A key reason MK95 works while Scorpion's Revenge doesn't is that MK95 focused on 3 protagonists with their own journeys and stuck with it. Scorpion's Revenge tried doing all of that as its B-plot, while doing Scorpion and Sub-Zero story justice for its A-plot, while also setting up its sequel, all with 21 less minutes to do it in. But that doesn't mean characters should just be thrown in to be skill sets the heroes have to overcome with no personality backing them. All the MK movies are guilty of having antagonists with no personality that are just there for the heroes to fight, and some like Annihilation go way overboard trying to cram in as many characters as possible for one-off scenes when it would be far better to narrow the scope and use a few characters in more scenes with more time to flesh them out. Drop Jade and give her role to Mileena. Drop Nightwolf and give his role to Sub-Zero. Drop the Saurians and give their role to Scorpion. Something like that. Did you know they plan to have Rain just show up and ambush the heroes in the desert in 2021, like 2 scenes after the reptile fight, just to have them kill him? Yeah. And a lot of the time it's a matter of adding 1 or 2 lines of dialogue to give a character some, well, character. Battle of the Realms takes Li Mei, an ardent anti-Outworld character, and makes her a servant of Outworld. 2021 takes Nitara, a character whose realm was annexed by Shao Kahn that she spent years trying to free, and made her a servant of Outworld. How difficult is it for Shang Tsung to grab Li Mei's arm before she fights Sonya and say, "Remember Li Mei, any funny business and your entire village will die"? Or have him say upon Nitara's introduction, "I know you have misgivings about the Moroi Melina, but she knows what fate will befall her people if she refuses to fight for the Emperor." One line. Scorpion got lucky being so popular despite never really having all that important a role in the narrative. If not for that, we'd probably still be dealing with the generically evil Threshold version in Legends in 2021 instead of the more fully realised versions we got in those films. But sadly, most popular characters still don't get that treatment. Melina, Reptile, Baraka, King, Paul Phoenix, Yoshimitsu, Zangief, Charlie Nash, Hitomi, Jan Lee, Genfu, and I'm sure tons of other Street Fighter and King of Fighters characters will just not get their dues in movies, even when the game company itself makes their own movie focused on a side character. So in essence, if your favourite MK character is anyone but Liu Kang, Johnny, Sonya, Raiden, Scorpion or Sub-Zero, if your favourite DOA character is anyone but one of the ninjas, if your favourite Tekken character is anyone but a Mishima, and if your favourite Street Fighter is anyone but Ryu, Ken, Bison or maybe Chun-Li, then they're probably not going to get much to do in a movie adaptation, nor much faithful characterization. To properly do these characters and stories justice, they would need to be done as a comic or a web/TV series where there is far more time to give side characters some focus and fully explore the narratives of the core cast. But of course, you also need people who respect the source material to be the ones making it. Assassin's Fist isn't just better than Street Fighter 94 and Legend of Chun-Li because it's longer and narrows the focus after all. I actually wrote this video and started editing it before Tekken Bloodline came out in 2022, and I don't think much has changed. King got to be cool there though, and the Williams sisters weren't fucking Jin, so it gets points for that if nothing else. That was also before the later MK Legends films came out, and those are better written than most MK movies, but are Elseworld stories that naturally have the characters deviate to fit the new settings. If we could get the Snowblind and Cage Match writers and the right directors on an Amazon budget streaming show where they have the time to explore more than a half dozen characters per story, MK could get something really special, and then maybe other fighting games could follow suit. Until then, we'll just have to pray that 2021 too doesn't overstuff itself with one-scene wonders like Annihilation did. It's a fool's hope, I know, but let me dream. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended video is Fighting Game Films by Babe Ruthless. I'm not biased or anything,